With TV shows in recent times like Velma that shows Hollywood or the TV industry's general concept of using IPs that are already pre-established and not turning away from them, even if the new shows have nothing to do with the source material, it shows that these industries are very afraid of taking risks. Luckily, as perfume hobbyists, we don't have those same issues, right? As a reviewer, there have been a lot of new fragrance releases that I've been noticing that I haven't been covering for a long time, a la Gen Sense like he does in his videos, because I haven't really been particularly excited about them. I do think we actually do have a similar issue like in Hollywood, where an industry has become so well established and so many big names have been made that the industry doesn't want to play it risky. They don't want to be creative, just like Hollywood, and they want to use the same generic names, make like 10 flankers of the same perfume that they've already made before, and just capitalize on it. It's kind of like how FIFA makes the same game every year, Call of Duty makes very similar games every year as well. And I think it's very sad that capitalism has taken over perfumery in this regard, and most mainstream designer fragrances are now following this trend. However, there have been a lot of fragrance releases that have been coming out that have been conveniently presented to us on this website called iFragrance, which I highly recommend you check out. And they do a really good job of staying on top of new upcoming fragrance releases from each brand to tell us about them, give us brief descriptions. So we're gonna go through about 6 fragrances here that are up and coming, a mixture of both designer and niche, and I'll look at the note breakdown and see what we think, see what you guys think as well, if you let us know in the comments down below, and see, are we excited about these new releases? Should you guys be excited about them as well? Let's discuss them here and get started. So first of all, describing my analogy that I mentioned before, we've got YSL Y Eau de Parfum Intense, which doesn't even make any sense. Isn't the Eau de Parfum meant to be the intense flanker already? It's the intense version of the Eau de Toilette. So I don't really understand how that works. We also have Le Parfum as well, which would also suggest a more intense version of the Eau de Parfum. But of course, YSL or L'Oreal saw money with YEDP and they want to make more of that. So they have a description here on the website. YSL's Y Eau de Parfum Intense expresses the intoxicating moment when creative energy is released. What? Okay, I don't know what that means. That sounds a bit strange. I'm not going to read that usual nonsense of marketing where they talk about weird, men being confident and stuff like that. I don't know. But let's look at the note breakdown. So we have a note breakdown pyramid here on the website. Top of bergamot, ginger, juniper berry. Okay, very fresh, spicy, sounding fairly similar to the Eau de Parfum. Heart notes of lavender, sage, geranium. So there's sage. So there's no apple. Sage and apple are the usual combination that's very distinct in Y Eau de Parfum. And then base notes of, we've got patchouli, vetiver, and cedarwood. Overall, I think they're going to be playing it safe for this fragrance. It doesn't look particularly exciting. I think it's still going to be very similar to the Y Eau de Parfum, but instead of apple, putting in ginger. So I think it's going to be a slightly warmer take on Y Eau de Parfum, but it's going to be a similar concept. The warmth is going to come primarily from the ginger and from the patchouli. But overall, it's going to be a safe, modern day scent with a lot of synthetics in there. I think it's going to be fresh, mass appealing. I think it's going to be very easy. I think it's going to be a fragrance that it's not going to excite me. It's not going to be bad on its own, but it's probably going to be redundant to own many of these flankers at once. So it's probably just going to be like another variation of why, like, it's sort of like, I always say to people, you don't need to own both Live and Eau de Parfum, for example. So it's going to be like one of those things, you pick one and then go with it. I don't think it's going to be groundbreaking, but it doesn't sound horrendous. Then, of course, following the same concept, we have Paco Rabanne releasing Paco Rabanne's 1 Million Royal and Lady Million Royal. So 2 fragrances there. The 1 Million lines had loads of flankers now, and I kind of don't mind them releasing more because I think Lucky and Privé have become discontinued. That's another thing. Like, I can kind of see if fragrances want to replace their lines because some stuff has been discontinued, but at the same time, it would be nice to just see brand new fragrances, like a brand new line. But I guess, yeah, Phantom was a bit of a fail, so I don't know. But yeah, I mean, 1 Million Royal, let's read about it. So we actually have 1 Million Royal on the official Paco Rabanne website here. If we click on the description, powered by your inner confidence into the 1 Million Royal kingdom with the ultimate fragrance of defiant self-expression. It's all the same marketing, whatever. So let's look at the notes. So the top notes are mandarin, bergamot, and cardamom. That sounds very nice. It sounds like a throwback to the original that had blood orange, I think, as the top notes, but cardamom is a very sexy, spicy note. And then we have heart notes of violet leaves. Okay, violet leaves are quite green, sharp. They give that petroleum effect known in Fahrenheit. We've got lavender and sage. Okay, it's got very similar mid notes actually to why EDP Intense. Base notes of benzoin, very sexy, warm, balsamic base notes. Very sweet, sexy, almost amber-like. Cedarwood, nice. Okay, and patchouli. Okay, you know what? I'm kind of getting throwbacks to the original. I'm getting, you know, sweet, spicy, fruity, similarities to the original Paco Rabanne 1 million. So this could be really good, actually. I don't see any notes here that makes me think this is going to be an unsafe choice. I think this is going to be, this has a good potential to be blended well and could be really sexy. So I'm actually looking forward to this flanker from 1 million. So if it's, you know, if the initial early reviews, you know, I'll probably get this, actually. I'll probably try to get this as soon as I can. I'll try to be one of the early reviews for this fragrance, because this does sound quite good. What do you guys think? Next up, we have Carolina Herrera's Bad Boy Extreme. Does lightning strike twice? So this looks quite interesting. The Bad Boy line is fairly interesting because I do think most of the fragrances aren't that spectacular, but I do respect that they're all quite different from each other. It is quite creative. They're not just slight variations on each other. They're very different. The original was like quite an underwhelming, like cacao, vanilla fragrances, you know, nice for a night out. The Le Parfum was spicy, fresh, aromatic, very different, like a daily signature. And then the Cobalt Blue, actually I thought was quite nice. It was a more sweet take on blue fragrances, very tonka bean heavy. And now this Bad Boy Extreme, I think, looks quite different as well. On the official website, they describe it as meet the newest addition to the Bad Boy family, a fiery evolution of our iconic scent that expresses the burning bond of brotherhood. That is exactly how you would describe, you know, brotherhood. It's burning. So yeah, cool. So the notes here are, okay, it's a bit confusing on this website. The notes are for him. He is charming and daring, occasion night, olfactive family, ambery, aromatic, woody. The fragrance intense and intoxicating. So that doesn't describe the notes at all. I don't know why that headline there is called the notes. It's created by Quentin Bish, who made Ganymede, which is quite interesting. Was he the one who made Ganymede? I thought he was. Yeah, he was the nose behind Ganymede, which I think, you know, a lot of people see as a masterpiece. I'm a little bit iffy about it in general, but you know, he's a good perfumer. What are the actual notes of this fragrance? So in the top notes, we have Indian ginger, bergamot, and clary sage. Okay, we're seeing a very similar concept. This is like all these modern perfumer formulations are all made by the same fragrance houses behind the scenes, and they're all using now a lot of ginger, bergamot, clary sage. You guys are seeing a repeating pattern here. Maybe they made like this new accord that works on all these modern formulas. That's why when you go to these department stores, a lot of these fragrances have a lot of similarities to each other, because they're just like these modern trends that they're all copying at the same time. Hard notes of Davana and plum. Davana, I think, I read about this before, it's like a notes, it's like a green plant that gives like a hay, straw-like consistency with some citrus facets. I've never smelled it before, but that's what the Fragrantica scent profile is. Yeah, on the Fragrantica it says a sharp herbal bitter green note with a balsamic in undertone. Balsamic means like warm and sweet, sort of like ambery. But the plum note in the mid is interesting. Base of frankincense, patchouli, cacao, opopanax, which is like another sweet, almost sweet, spicy, almost Middle Eastern smelling note, vetiver and tonka bean. Okay, and there's 3 perfumers behind it. Fair enough. There's a lot of sexy notes here that I think if they really lean into like the frankincense and popanax, the plum, they can make this smell very Middle Eastern and very interesting. I really hope they really lean into those notes and they're not just listed there, but they're only there in small amounts in the real thing. So this could be a really sexy fragrance, actually. I actually think maybe the Bad Boy line is actually getting better with each iteration. So I'm actually looking forward to this. Hopefully, I'll look out for reviews for this one. If it sounds interesting, I'll get a bottle. Maison Margiela, a house I did a buying guide on, and one that I would say is all underwhelming overall because of how a lot of their fragrances don't perform that well, and a lot of them smell too synthetic. But they're releasing a new fragrance here called On a Date, you know, which obviously I'm going to presume this is something you wear on a date, and it's going to be made by Carlos Benayim, who's made popular fragrances like Calvin Klein Eternity, and he was one of the perfumers in Spice Bomb Extreme as well. So he's a big name. He's worked with Frederick Malle as well, that perfume house. So this could be quite interesting. Top notes of blackcurrant, bergamot, and pink pepper. Okay, fresh, fruity, sounds interesting. Esparta rose, geranium. So geranium is also quite a rosy smelling flower. So it's going to be very floral. Divana's back again. So everyone's using Divana as well now. Patchouli, vetiver, oak moss, and musk. So this sounds quite feminine, if I'm honest with you. It really depends how strongly they use the vetiver and oak moss, because those are traditionally more masculine fragrance notes if overly used. But it sounds like it's going to be very floral, romantic, leaning more to the feminine side. A lot of Maison Margiela's fragrances, I think, lean to the feminine side. I think this one will as well. But it could be natural smelling. It could be done really well. Hopefully it's done more naturally. It's more long-lasting. And even if it's feminine, I'd still be happy if they release a good fragrance like that. So we'll see how it goes. The fragrance actually already is out, and on Fragrantica there's some early reviews. This review says, I get roses and some blackcurrant with grare leaves. On dry down, it gets a little powdery and soft, but I also get a note of what my armpits smell like when I forget to put on deodorant. But it's ever so slight. It's a little boring. For a blackcurrant fragrance, I prefer Carolina Herrera's Very Good Girl. And as predicted, this fragrance leans a little more to the feminine side, according to the early Fragrantica reviews, which are, don't, take them with a pinch of salt. They're early reviews, but it's a bit harsh that she said it smells a bit like armpits and it still smells boring, even if it smells like her armpits, which is really weird. That's like a double whammy, it's a double insult. Wow, okay. Another one again, it says wine and roses. There's a slight body odor smell, but it smells like an attractive person. It works well for a wintertime event outdoors. It's strong. Okay, so it's very romantic smelling, a bit similar to Poppy and Barley by Jo Malone, but sweeter and more feminine. Okay, so at least it has good performance, and people are saying it's a bit body odory, which can be, I can understand why that might be the case. Some floralness actually have the note of indole in there, which is a note that is found from humans. It's a bacteria that is a scent constituent that's formed by human beings naturally. So it can be, which can be quite sexy actually. So it sounds interesting. I'm not sure if I'm that excited about this, but fair enough. Hopefully it gets positive reception. Now this is interesting. We're going to the niche world here. Xerjoff's Grooves Xcape, which sounds like a partnership with someone called Sergio Momo and Max Kasaki, co-founder of Subsonica and musical pioneer. What is Subsonica? 1 second. They're a Italian rock band formed in Turin in 1996. Okay, I've never heard of them. Fair enough. So they're basically partnering up with a rock band, which is interesting. I think I've seen, Xerjoff have partnered with they made other partnerships in the past with like Tony Iommi. I don't know who that is either, but I kind of just feel like the branding seems a bit weird for Xerjoff. I feel like if a brand like Paco or Rabanne had this sort of packaging, this presentation, this concept of mixing, a fragrance with sound, I think it would make more sense. But with Xerjoff, it looks a little bit jarring, I think. It just doesn't really suit the brand, in my opinion. It might just be me being picky, but I don't know what you guys think. Like, if you look at this box with these weird sound waves, it just doesn't match Xerjoff's vibe, It just looks a bit weird to me. But let's look at the notes. That's the most important thing. So apparently in the top notes, we have cardamom, pepper, elemi, and ginger. So it's gonna be fresh, spicy, intense, and sharp. Incense, rose, mimosa, myrrh. Okay, floral, sweet, Middle Eastern. This sounds more like Xerjoff style. Okay, patchouli, labdanum, cedarwood, benzoin. So very sweet, ambery fragrance notes here. Very different from the top to the base. I think this is going to have a transformative effect on the skin. It's not going to be linear. I think the fragrance sounds amazing, but as I said, I'm not too sure about the packaging here. What do you guys think? I mean, it's a cool looking bottle. I like the black lid, but I just don't agree with this whole sound system effect, this whole band music thing going with Xerjoff. They're just, I mean, partnering is, I can see why it's a clever idea for them financially, but it just doesn't seem like the right fit for the brand. Am I being too picky here? And finally, going back to the theme of releasing flankers of pre-made fragrances, we're doing Lacoste White Eau Intense. So I know they made an Eau de Parfum, which I've smelled in store and I actually really liked. I think it's a better version of the Eau de Toilette. And that made more sense because it came out many years after the original, so it's kind of like they needed an update. I'm not sure about this. This is being released this year. Experience the irresistible freshness of Lacoste Blanc Eau Intense. This intense and fresh men's fragrance oozes juicy mandarin and lavender, accented by a warm note of white leather and vetiver. Okay, so if you think about the original Lacoste white, it was a fresh white floral scent with a suede undertone. So it was kind of summery, but the suede gave it a lot of longevity, which was very interesting, made it unique. Let's look at the notes here. Top notes of mandarin, turmeric leaf. Turmeric is quite an intense spicy note. Cardamom is a sexy spicy note. Lavender, armoise, I don't know what that is. Clary sage, so it's going to be quite aromatic still. So spicy, aromatic, vetiver, leather, sandalwood. Those are very heavy base notes. I think this is going to be less of a sporty Lacoste white. I think this is going to be more of a daily signature. It sounds like it's more balanced, more heady, and it sounds like it's going to be quite sexy actually. So actually I have quite high hopes for this, and hopefully this will not disappoint. I'm not sure if it's out yet. I don't think it's out. But once it is, guys, and we get some early news, I'll be the first to jump on it and see if it's worth buying a full bottle. And that concludes the video, guys. What are your thoughts on me creating this sort of series where I discuss up and coming fragrance releases? Of course, it's very different talking about a fragrance compared to just simply smelling it, because it's just something you have to experience. But I quite enjoy rambling about new releases. I suppose it keeps everyone up to date about what's coming up and what's coming out. It's sort of like a news article, and you guys get to just get a nice summary of what's happening. If you guys want me to continue this kind of content, let me know. If you don't want me to continue it, that's fine as well. Thank you for watching, guys. Make sure to check out our other videos as well in the meantime, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.